Oh, hey, Doomer. It's October 12th. Thank all of you for putting your heart and mind into your comments on my last published video. Some of the suggestions I take with a grain of salt, others considering. That being taking part in an eco community or looking on Woof for a commune. These are suitable directions given what's going on, all the atrocities in the world. Things are bad, worse than bad, crazy. It's like everyone everywhere is going crazy. So we don't go outside anymore. We just stay inside. And slowly the world we're living in gets smaller. Yes, I could butcher the rest of that. But the scenes coming out of the other side of the world are horrific enough. Do we live in an Orwellian 1984 dystopian nightmare or what? Is that an understatement? Seriously. Are you feeling the financial strain? Most of my generation is. Financial anxiety up the ass. Yet, don't look up syndrome, I coined that from Warren, persists, and people continuously having children as if there's no tomorrow. Because there isn't one. So, I have a few things to talk about. First off, an honorable mention to Michael Dowd. If you aren't familiar with his work, The Great Big Story, he wraps it all up nicely with a bow, the whole collapse scenario. The fact that this man, Reverend Michael Dowd, if you want to be correct, survived cancer and apparently fell. I don't know the whole story. I'm sure his wife is losing her mind, and I don't want to speak ill. Crazy part is, I was just in his collapse awareness group probably 4 or 5 weeks ago. I was literally seeing him talk on a Zoom call, and to other people. I think he mentioned Karen, Jim Bendel's work. He didn't actually say anything to me, but he was in the room. I did hear his voice online, and I didn't get to tell him that I admired his work as many others do. It's just sad. Another doomer bites the dust, older, you know, and we commented a few times on his videos. I told him what a great job he does, putting everything so fluid, and direct. I admire that. I admire that. So it's a shame. There's some piece of shit assholes that live to their 60s and 70s, and yet people who actually exhibit, courage and tenacity to warn others about what's coming and not obsessed about their ego or time periods they've been through or any of that stuff. It's heartwarming to a younger generation to see people collected, because I can get on some generational hate, but I'll rein it in because many of my subscribers are much older, and I understand that my subscriber count isn't the highest, and I don't expect it to be. To understand and comprehend this information, to watch Michael Dowd's work, I mean, you're in the 1 percentile, less than 1 percentile of the population. So this isn't a popularity contest. I'm just appreciative that I have such a supportive and intuitive, intelligent, so many adjectives, community here that supports my plight in telling the truth, and a communion of people who understand the dire predicament that we're in. Whoosh, like it matters. But it's being alive, and being awake to what's happening is better than not even looking. So I wanted to go through a few articles, but I did want to mention that what's going on in Israel and Hamas is horrific. I'm seeing images of children with bloodied faces, just complete insanity, massacre on both sides. And this has been building up for a while, and you could say, well, there's always been war in human history. Well, not necessarily. There have been periods of time, most recently, where there was worldwide peace for a while, and looks like that's breaking, and we are heading full steam into worldwide global chaos here soon. And sadly, we still don't even look. Getting off a substance, I'm finding myself being more vocal, and the more I tell people, hey, this is the last decade, we're in a climate emergency, people laugh at me. I've had parents laugh at me. Laugh in your face. This is how we're responding to, you've seen the record September temperatures and anomalies. They're just going delta function straight up. And not even the super El Nino yet, just straight up. I'm conscious of what's happening, and so are you. We can't not miss these articles. I mean, talk about dystopian. We actually have a report that climate change can have lifelong impacts on young people's mental health. We actually need a report detailing that climate change can play a major role in affecting young people's health, including how events linked to climate change, weather disasters, extreme heat, and poor air quality can trigger or exacerbate mental health issues for kids and teens. Natural disasters can lead to a post-traumatic stress disorder in these groups. Longer-term problems can increase the risk of anxiety, depression, bipolar aggression, cognitive impairment, and more. So the report documents psychological harms that are happening right now to children and youth in our country. These are not issues that we can wait and resolve later. As a society, we must act now. No one's acting. There's no way out of this predicament. And the fact that we need a report to tell us that, our environment breaking down is affecting young people is just sad. It's just sad, but we'll give Bezos another yacht, okay? We'll go build another subdivision that's gated and walled in. We are beyond redemption. And side note, you shouldn't spend this time proclaiming about how you've been defamed or wronged, who's wrong. It's a waste of time. All of this stuff is wrapped up in ego, fear of not being enough. When are you content? When have you come to terms with your mortality? What is it going to take? You know, the resentment in people, it just runs so deep, it corrodes them, and it's like all they can talk about. I think you know who I'm talking about. Just quit. You've made over hundreds of videos about it, okay? Yes, you've been defamed, all right? Other people are ripping off your work. Just drop it. Focus on the stuff that we want to hear, which is the reality of what's happening. And focusing on the pieces as they fall is being alive, is being conscious, okay? So, moving on, global economic losses from extreme weather could hit $5 trillion. Lloyd says there's a 90% chance that 2023 has an average of more than 1.5. October is just, ratcheting up. Even temporary temperatures above 2 degrees will affect life in the oceans for centuries. My emphasis here was just being a decent human being, and you guys are there to point me in the right direction that what I need to pursue is living in an eco-conscious community, at least for the remainder of this decade, or, again, learn skills, how to grow, build things. These are valuable life experiences. Then grinding in the city, it doesn't even feel like you're living, right? It feels like you're just existing, just paying bills just to exist. It's bad. And the financial strain, the anxiety that causes, even for a rather calm person, if you could say that, as myself, I'm pretty logical and level-headed most of the time. I'm feeling just extremely radical, extremist about the direction that our leaders or absence of have taken us. And I mean that by local and government officials have just been failing us on every single accord. And if you don't think that's going to play out in scenes like January 6th all over again, then you're a blind fool. Because there are a large portion of the population that is fed up as I am and will take up arms. Okay? Maybe you should keep your AR-15 lubed and loaded. So, on top of all this, one more honorable mention. Fossil fuel equipment in Maryland buildings causing more smog than power plants. That is the situation that we've created for ourselves. Completely untenable. Right? And I'll take this moment to address another content creator, goes by the name of Environmental Coffee House. I admire her production value, and everything she says is, as far as reporting the data, is accurate. I'm not against that. But she's still under this future generations light hopium that we can fix it. And there's no plausible way. Get out and go live now in the cities. Look around the world. India, China. It's delta function. We are exponentially destroying the planet. And all these charts you see of like Antarctic and Arctic sea ice getting lower and lower, you can just see them getting lower and lower. All right? So, okay, I'm with Paul. The atrocities that are being committed, multiple wars, is distasteful and indicative, not to mention my own personal experience with boomers of particular generation being the most entitled, self-absorbed, narcissistic generation, more so than us. We can barely buy shoes, okay? It's like living in the Great Depression and seeing them being so... Like I had a woman the other day, just a side story, that wanted me to stand and look at her food as I delivered it for 5 minutes as she came down the elevator. But I decided to stand outside the door so I wasn't in the room because the virus is going around again apparently. But she had the audacity to tell me, why didn't you stand inside next time, honey? Just stand inside here and look at it. I'm looking at it right now. And then another boomer pulls up to me. It's the worst when they smoke and they're like just pathetic. Try existing right now as a young person, right? And they say, well, I've had a hard... No, you didn't. You had the best times in American history. I have no patience for self-righteous, pathetic, addict, narcissistic boomers. Just end it. The fact that they live so long, and yet people like Michael Dowd drop, and maybe a few others in the doomosphere, is like, it makes you want to incite a riot, right? So, I'll end this with a picture of my cat. That's when I adopted her. Bambi. That was her name. 6 months old. January 22nd. 8 days after my birthday. She was 5 pounds. Adorable. A handful. Makes me sad to look at it. As it would for you. And all of your stories you shared with me about your prior cats. It warmed my heart. It made me feel less alone. So, your comments, suggestions, support for me as I continue to document our demise is well received and read. Please, Jimmy, don't comment multiple times. And don't write in all caps. Just write what you need to write. You know, be here with me as we witness our collapse. As people laugh in our face that this is the last decade. This is the last stable decade we have. All right. Until next time, have a good week. My dear Doomer, I'll talk to you soon.